Hello there, friends. How are you?
Hey, Marley, how are you?
We kind of match.
A little bit.
I didn't even think about that when we were talking earlier.
No, I didn't do it on purpose. I grabbed whatever clothes.
Yeah. So clearly we're coming a little bit late today, but it's going to be okay. I had to get a free pattern up for you guys. So it took me a little bit longer today than I expected. So I hope you will forgive me, but we are here now and everything is great. I'm just making sure everything is good over on YouTube. So if you give me just a minute just to make sure. Okay, I think it's all good there. I want to make sure all the details and everything that you need for today's episode are here. So if you guys don't know, my name is Marley Bird. I'm your By Crafty bestie. That over there is my bestie, Robin Chichula. She is my partner in crime here at marleybird.com. And we work together to create knitting and crochet patterns that are perfect for all of you at all different skill levels. We do free patterns, paid patterns, workshop, courses, make-alongs, all the things you could imagine. We are here. We have almost 20 years of experience. Can you believe that? Just pause there for a minute. It's
That's what I was doing in my head. I'm like,
yeah, it's almost 20 years. Isn't that nuts? Like I was talking to Shiri the other day, and I was telling her, like, we've almost been working together for 20 years. And I mean, I don't have anybody that I've worked with that long in my life, so it's kind of amazing.
That's
kind of amazing. Yeah. But yeah, so all of that is to say, if you guys are ever looking for instructional videos or pattern and content and community that you know that you can love and trust and rely on, we are here for you. So this is the Mondays with Marley podcast. Robin is joining me today. I'm very happy so I don't have to sit here and talk by myself. I mean, I love it when we have guests and stuff, but I also love it when you're able to join me and talk about the stuff. And we got a lot to talk about today. When we were discussing what we wanted to make sure everybody was in the know today, we have quite the list. So if you're ready to go, I'm just going to jump in. So I got to pull up my show notes to make sure.
Hit me.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah. All the good stuff.
Okay.
I mean, we got good stuff going on at Marley Bird, but there's like stuff going on in the universe that I want to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, y'all. Can you guys hear me all right? My sound seems like it's down a little bit. Is that better? Hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pull up my show notes to make sure I have everything here. So as I mentioned, jammed pack episode. So not only do we have a lunch and learn, but we're going to talk about 2 brand new patterns that we just published this morning that will go along with the One Ball Shawls Challenge, which came to a close. And we have winners chosen. We had 10 winners that were notified on their actual post, whether it was on Facebook or on Instagram. If you use the hashtag OneBallWonders, you are entered for a chance to win. Chrissy, our lovely assistant, went through and just randomly selected winners and reached out to let you know that you are the lucky winner. And what is it that they won, Robin?
Well, what we were working with is, so all of that was sponsored by Herrschners.
Yes.
And since Marley has fallen in love, and I won't lie, I like it a lot too now that I've got to work with it.
Right.
The Heather's 8 yarn. Do you have a ball right there?
Do.
If not, I'll grab one of mine.
I have one right here.
As I knock over everything in my office. It's some nice stuff. Like it
feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, for all of you out there that are like yarn snobs, you're like, I don't want to use acrylic. Like this feels really good.
Yeah, and I'm really particular of like how tired it makes my hands.
Yes.
Too.
Yes.
Like the fatigue. And I can get this with some kind of acrylics, but I didn't like, it was a joy to make what you're wearing. Like it was a joy. So what all the winners get is they get a big, gigantic ball. And they're going to get 2 patterns, the 2 patterns that we released today. So Marley's wearing one of them.
All right, so I'm going to change this so you can see.
You.
So this is one.
So that's called the Kemble Ford Crochet Shawl or Crochet Cowl. It's like the classic, I call it like the classic Marley Bird
I know. I was calling it like the quintessential Marley Bird style.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a giant triangle that you wrap and then you add the cowl, and you can obviously make the cowl as tall as you want. But since you do those all the time, like I really love them just for that reason. You just pop them over your head.
Yeah.
There's no adjusting. Like I feel like when I wear other cowls and shawls, like I'm always like readjusting, and I'm not doing it. You just pop it on.
Yeah. It feels good.
And then I always feel like I'm like dressed.
Yes. Like I feel so put together and I just have a t-shirt on.
Yes. I feel like, like I always feel like, oh, now I like look really nice.
Yeah.
I know. I love them. I love them with your jean jacket. Like I would wear that all the time.
I know. When I pulled this out, I was like, oh, that looks really good. I was just cold. That's why I put the jean jacket on. I was like, I'm so cold.
Yeah. So that's the crochet, and it only uses one ball, obviously, because you get one ball because it was a 1 ball challenge. And then for knit wise, you get a shawl, and it is a rectangular shawl. It's garter stitch, so it's like it's super relaxing. You're increasing on one side, so it's just like boop boop boop, and then at the end you have that brocade, which it's just knit and pearls, right?
Yeah,
and you get that little diamond. And so when you see it on Marley, how she styles it just like what she's wearing now. Yeah, you can wear a shawl however you want to wear a shawl. But I really like it when she styles it like a bandana cowl, because again, it gives the same very done look. Like you just look.
Yeah. And fancy. I did not block this. Like you could block this larger. I did not.
Sure, if you wanted to. This was just for fun.
I just usually will pull this around like this and then pull it down.
Yeah. So you got a little bit of warmth. But like what I love, who doesn't like garter stitch, the feel of garter stitch?
Yeah.
I mean, you might get bored doing garter stitch.
Your shoulder.
But like it's just that like yummy feel. It's just, you look very fancy, and it's not fancy
I love
at all.
this. I think it's great.
Yeah,
it's also
really
nice.
pretty.
I don't know if you guys like, if you wear a jean jacket like this, put this on first and then put your jean jacket over top, and it'll lock in like the back part. So it'll be back around your neck, and you don't have to worry about, buttons or a shawl pin or anything. But one thing you could do is you could, very much like the crocheted one, you could like add buttons to this, even just removable ones from Jewel that we love. And you could just button them on the back, just like the other one.
And then you can pop it over. Then it's always done.
Yeah. Then it's like a cowl too.
Yeah.
But this is also 1 ball. You start at the corner, and you just increase on this edge here, which would be your wingspan increase. And then at the very end, that's when I added the brocade area, the diamond brocade. And then you finish off with garter stitch again. This is so squishy and so nice and so warm and super beginner friendly. So beginner friendly. Really, we're going to talk about it today and do a lunch and learn for this today. So these are now also, so these are the patterns that the winners get. They get both patterns and then 1 ball of yarn. And then we just published them for free on the website. This one, you can also purchase the ad-free PDF. I will have the ad-free PDF for this one in like the next hour after the podcast. That's why I was trying to get everything up, doing the best I can. But pretty cool, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, they're really nice. I really like them.
I think they're pretty.
I think they came out really well.
I really like this one. It was great, you guys. Last week we were talking with Herrschners, because we're doing quite a bit of work with them with the challenge, the 1 ball challenge and such. Yeah. And so they were asking us if we had chosen the winners, and we were telling them that we were going to do it. And then we had a chance to show them the 2 free projects. And Mary, the lady we were talking to, we showed her this one. She's like, oh, I love that. She was all about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we were trying to do something that's like like the essence of both crafts. So
yes,
with the crochet, obviously you have some shell stitches and textured stitches, and with the knitting you have how easy and nice it is that you just can open up a shawl. It's just something to show off, because they use a ton of heathers with blankets and stuff, but it's nice to show that you can make out of one of these, you can make a great gift.
I mean, you guys know we've done so many things with the heathers right now. Like I've got these are slippers, These are crochet slippers. We got a crochet hat, knit hats, right? More crochet hats.
Right. Those were game day.
Like so many, and it's fun. And if you guys really want to know, I made, let me get here, all of this with one ball of the blue.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of that was one ball of the blue. Like you could, it's a lot. You get a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
You get a lot.
You can do a lot with it. Yeah.
And you know what? One thing when I was writing the blog post, Robin, I was thinking to myself, and I even put this in the blog post, this is a great, for the knit one especially, it's a great travel project because you only need one ball, right? So you could get yourself like an Erin Lane Bags large bag and put this in there, or even a bucket. And then you just need your size 10 knitting needles, just some circulars. And you literally, because you're just doing garter stitch, and every time you're back to the right side, you work your increase.
Yeah, I think I used this.
There you go. Yep, just real easy. And so this, you could pick it up while you're in the school weight line. You could pick it up while you're at sports. You could work on it while you're traveling on a plane. Yes, you can bring knitting needles on a plane. So it's a really great travel project. And you can make this larger if you want to. Like you know, once you get going, you can figure out if you wanted to make it larger, you could. You really don't have to. It's like the perfect little nugget of a project. I love it.
Right.
I love it. And it's a great stash buster too. Like if you don't have the Herrschners worsted weight, worsted 8 Heathers, and you have other worsted weight yarns, you could use that too if you wanted to.
Yeah, it translates pretty well into the typical acrylic worsted weight size. It's not small or large. It's pretty right down the pathway.
Yeah. So today's Lunch and Learn will be for the Peak Serenity Shawl. But the Peak Serenity Shawl and how did you say this again?
It's Kembleford.
Kembleford. The Kembleford Cowl are both free on the website right now, marleybird.com. And they are the winning projects that we provided, that we designed for the One Ball Wonders Challenge, which we want to say thank you so much for participating in that. Yeah. This is the first time that Herrschners has done a challenge like this with an outside, I don't want to say influencer, but designer.
Yeah.
And
company. I mean, it's really more of a company. Like they partner with companies all the time, but like not in this type of social interaction type of way.
Right. And they were very pleased with all the entries, all the excitement they got. They've loved that you guys purchased the different yarns. I mean, of course, they love that you purchased it. They love that you purchased it and you loved your purchase. You know what I mean? Like those are two different activities, right? Yeah. So they were very happy that you guys were just as happy with the purchase when it was received as when you made the purchase.
It was really neat. Like, cause talking to Herrschners, they track like their customers and they want to make sure that they're constantly getting repeat customers.
Yeah.
And it was really neat to see how many people have already repeat, like they've come back and bought something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was really, I mean, it was really cool for Marley and I because we thought it was a good product.
Yeah.
Not just the yarn, but like the company we thought was really good. So it was kind of cool. We were like, oh
yeah, that's kind of neat. Kind of neat. Yeah. So that is the One Ball Wonders. If you are a winner, you are already contacted. So hopefully you guys are all on board with that. And last week I talked a little bit about the new challenge, which is the Cozy Socks and Slippers Challenge. Yeah. So it's all about making socks and slippers. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's just it's exactly like the One Ball. You use any pattern that you want. Anything that covers your feet. So that's why we were like socks or slippers, knit or crochet. You don't have to use Herrschners yarn. You don't have to use our patterns. It doesn't matter. Like Marley showed you the website last week where we have some inspiration and ideas. You know us, Marley's done a bunch of different slippers and we obviously like socks a lot. But you can use anything. And then all you have to do is either post it on Facebook or post it on Instagram with the hashtag Cozy Socks and Slippers.
Plural. Socks and slippers.
Socks and slippers. And then we'll be able to find it. And the same thing. It goes all the way until the end of March. So that if you participate in our make along that's coming up, our sock make along,
That's what we're going to lead to.
you can post that picture of that sock
Yes.
and enter in. So it's like, hey guys.
Yeah.
Why not? Like, why not try to do a giveaway? And it's
Right.
going to be the same thing. They're going to give you some sock yarn.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
like, ooh, so you make something and then the gift will be the yarn again.
Right. Yeah.
It's super nice of them. Like,
yeah.
Because, like, okay, so one ball of yarn doesn't cost that much, but what does cost a lot is shipping.
Yeah.
So I know in most of the cases, the shipping is so much more expensive than the actual yarn. And so it's just really sweet of them to be like, they didn't even like blink. They said, yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
no problem.
They were all about it.
So
and yeah, I've had a couple people ask me, do I have to use Herrschners yarn for the challenge? You do not. But is it, a great thing to use yarn that they sell? Absolutely. Yeah. Like, go check out the different yarns. We have an entire blog post we wrote about the challenge. We gave out different links to various patterns that you could think about using. We linked to different yarns that you suggest. And Herrschners, guys, you have no idea what it's like working with a company who is actually so supportive of the things that I do, in that they know that we're doing this. And so they made a page on their website with everything that we talked about, with the yarns and the patterns. And they put it so that it's one place that you can go to. And then they're even advertising that in their email. So like, I don't know if you get the Herrschners emails, but you should have seen Marley Bird logo in there. And it's so nice. I haven't had that in 5 years. So it's really incredibly kind.
They're really trying to make it easy for you. So like, whenever we talk about something, like it's on their homepage. If you scroll down, you'll see the Marley Bird logo, and then you just click on it. It has anything that we've talked about. They put it there so that you can find it easier. Right. They don't have to do that. Like, it was super nice of them to do that.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give you guys my link to Herrschners. So that way you can, as long as you click that link to get to Herrschners, they know that I sent you, which is the most important thing, honestly, for us. We want to make sure they know that we sent you. So hold on, I'm going to grab the link here and I'm going to put it into the chat so you guys have it. And then I will also post it to the show notes so you guys can have that there as well, to make sure everybody knows where that is. Okay, so that leads us to, go ahead.
One question. I did see one question about how many times you can enter. As many as you want.
As many as you want.
I mean, frankly, I'm super excited to see socks and slippers. So if you are making a whole bunch of different ones, I would really like to see them.
Right.
Because Christy and I are the ones who like are going back and forth and being like, did you see this one? I saw this one. Like, it makes our day. So.
Yeah. And all the winners are randomly chosen. Like, we're not like, oh, this one's really pretty. Like, it's whatever works.
It's a random drawing, but we still enjoy looking at them all.
Absolutely. So what's really great about this cozy socks and slippers challenge is that it coincides really well with the sock make along that Robin just talked about. I know this feels like we're doing a lot of like back end office talk right now, but trust me, we're going to get to other stuff too, I promise. But the sock make along that I told you guys about last week, it is happening. We will be doing it March 14th through the 17th. There are 3 knit patterns, three crochet patterns. You could purchase any one of the 3 or all 6 or whatever you want. Like, each one is going to be priced individually. And yes, this is a paid make along. This is one of the very few make alongs that we do that is not a free version. There's only a paid version. So that paid make along will be available for purchase on Friday, February 28th. So Friday, February 28th is when we're going to like essentially release all the details, get the links to all the various patterns if you want to be a part of. So that way everything is in your Marley Bird house, ready to go by March 14th. Now, why are we waiting until Friday, Robin?
It's a great question. So what's super exciting is if you bought your Buy Crafty Bestie Volume 2 box, we heard from a very special person that they are shipping on Tuesday. They're shipping tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we're like,
Yep.
So everybody's going to get their stuff really, really soon, which I'm super excited because I've been using the bags for quite a while.
Did you hear her when she said that she wanted to try and send them out Friday, but the postal guy, he didn't have room. He has to have an empty truck to come and get them all. I was like, okay.
So he was like, you're shipping Tuesday, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But the whole reason we're waiting till Friday is what we want to make sure is that everybody who bought the box can access their course. We don't want anybody to like buy the same one twice.
Yeah.
You know, we want you to know what you bought so that you don't buy it again.
Yeah. So what she's talking about here, just to kind of make sure we know, if you bought the By Crafty box, you know, let's say if you bought aromatherapy, you're going to have access to both of these patterns. Right. So we don't want you to, on Friday, be like, oh, I'm going to buy that pattern. And these are already in your Marley Birdhouse. Right. So that way you'll know, oh, I'll go get, what are these, meditation? I'll go get meditation instead. Right. Whatever you want instead. Yeah. So that's kind of where that's at. So yes, we have all the back end stuff of the Marley Birdhouse for this ready to go. So we will have all of your workshops inside of your Marley Birdhouse account by Wednesday if you purchased one of the boxes. And then Friday, go ahead.
Yeah. And like, so what you'll see when you open up is like, you'll have the typical things that we have in there. It's all the materials that you need, your gauge, how to use the birdhouse, all of that typical, like start here stuff.
Yeah.
But then it's 2 weeks until the make along starts. We'll start everybody together so that if you didn't buy the box, you have a chance to go get materials.
Yeah.
And join in with us.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the sock make along. It starts March 14th. Details will be on Friday, February 28th. And yes, it is all inside the Marley Birdhouse. So it's a oh, my nose is running. A weekend event that's inside the Marley Birdhouse. So you'll have the content, all the information that goes with it. And these are robust. These are more than just a basic pattern. I mean, it's everything you need to walk you through how to make these patterns. So that's that in the By Crafty Bestie box.
Daisy, that's a great question. Is the courses all locked until the make along? Yeah.
Yes.
We want everyone to start together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So you'll see that it has
and the same thing is it's going to be just like a make along that we normally do. They will drip. So like you'll get, I don't know, if they're toe up, you get the toe first. Yeah. And then the next day you'll get the foot. And then the next, so it'll be over a 4-day period.
If I remember correctly, Robin, we put in there like the dates that things are going to be released. So you'll see what date.
You'll see what day.
Yeah. Everything's there. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's all of that stuff. I will tell you that right now the Peak Serenity Knit Shawl the PDF is on Etsy. And you do not need a code if you want to buy it. It's 25% off this week only. So I will let you know that. I put that up for that. I will also be doing that for the cowl once I get it up. It'll be 25% off. Okay, I'm going through my list here. Last thing. I move all my stuff. This is my tease. I have a big box of yarn here that I got from Herrschners that we are going to unbox together next week. Also, inside of here is a crochet shawl that they would like me to do a specific lunch and learn for on March. I just lost the date.
5th. It's March 5th.
March 5th. So March 5th at 2:30, we will, I think it's a Wednesday, we will do a lunch and learn for a crochet shawl using this specific yarn that they are going to have me show you guys. So that is my big tease for the Herrschners yarn. Yeah.
Next the new crochet shawl pattern. Week there'll be 2. So there'll be the podcast and then the lunch and learn. So Marley's coming at you twice next week.
Yes. All right. Okay, so that's everything on the list here. The next thing is the big thing I wanted to talk about. Okay.
And this is why I'm sitting here with my coffee.
Yeah.
It should be tea. Tell me the tea.
I'm gonna give you the tea. So let me pull up. I pulled up a like a news report to kind of make sure I got specific details.
All the details, right?
So let me open that. Okay, so bear with me, guys. We are going to talk about Joann Fabric. You guys ready for this? Joann Fabric?
Yeah.
Let me preface this with, I do not have any insider information. I have nothing. I know, like, literally what we're going to be talking about is what I read online or what my own experience is or my own thoughts, right? I I have no information as far as any sort of details other than what I have seen reported. But if you don't know, Joann Company declared bankruptcy for the second time within the same year. And they openly filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in January. Okay, so it's the second time in less than a year. And initially, they said that they were going to keep their stores open while restructuring its debt. However, just weeks after filing, Joann reversed course and announced that it would close 500 of its roughly 800 locations.
That's the last I knew.
That's the last you knew.
There was going to be 300 left open and 500 closed.
Yeah. So
like and there's a whole list. There's a
list.
So like in my area, every single one is closing. There's not one that's staying open.
I have one, but that's subject to change because the closure of these stores is the beginning, because as part of the ongoing bankruptcy proceedings, Joann held an auction this weekend, February 21st, to sell off assets. And a limited liability company called Joann Retail Partnership, which is a subsidiary of asset disposition company GA Group, emerged as the winning bidder. They will now oversee the complete liquidation of Joann's remaining operations. This is obviously subject to court approval, but that means that there is imminent closure of Joann's across the country.
So that means that those 300 will probably not stay open.
No, they will be liquidated. Everything's going to be liquidated. I read earlier today, I'm going to come back so I can see you. I read earlier today that they will have like some money set aside to try and retain people with the company to help them get through the liquidation process. But essentially think of this as the same as what happened to Big Lots or Bed Bath & Beyond or Toys R Us. Sadly, Joann is going away. And so what I wanted to talk about is, clearly, if you didn't know, now you know.
Right.
How does that affect us as a community? How does that affect us as designers? How does that affect us as entrepreneurs who work craft fairs or sell Etsy products? It is devastating. It is absolutely devastating.
It is wild when you think of like just getting your craft supplies. I don't mean necessarily yarn, but when you're thinking of your craft supplies, especially sewing supplies, I don't have anything else. Like, it's wild to me. It's wild.
You know, so I got a chance to, here's what's bad. So for me, I'll give you like a brief history. Joann was always Joann Fabrics for me for years, right?
Yeah.
So as a crocheter primarily back then, I had no idea that Joann Fabrics sold yarn. Just like I didn't know Hancock Fabrics sold yarn. Like it just didn't know.
I didn't know that they sold.
Yeah, they had yarn. So when I found that, I was like, this is fantastic. I can go get yarn. So that was my first introduction to Joann. Flash forward to when I got Chic Sheep. The only meeting I had with a big box company was Joann. I was flown to the Joann headquarters, sat down with the full buying team of Joann, and essentially pitched them Chic Sheep. This is prior to Red Heart being sold to Yarnspirations, right?
Right.
So when this happened, we got news back that Joann was going to pick up the yarn and put it in all their stores. I mean, we were ecstatic.
That's huge news.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Then it changed. Decisions were made, things were changed, and they were just going to put it in their top 100 performing stores.
Okay.
Not as big, obviously 800 versus 100, right? It's a big difference.
Yeah.
But still exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So if you remember, for the longest time, you could only get Chic Sheep at Joann Fabric or redheart.com. Michael's Canada picked it up for a little bit, but it just never sold. So it just didn't stay. All of that is to say, I got a chance to spend time at Joann meeting the design team, or not the design team, the purchasing team. I also went to a I can't remember what the exact name was, but it was like a women's award show. I can't think of what it was, but it was for Red Heart, and the Joann purchasing team was with us too. So I got a chance to spend some time with them. And then beyond that, my only interaction with Joann is I've done some in-store things, in-store demonstration stuff with Mikey. If you guys came to see a couple of our things, I think we did in Columbus. And I've done some one-off things that I did for Red Heart and Yarn Inspirations. And then over the last 5-6 years, I've done the knit version of the Joann make-along that was Yarn Inspiration and Joann. In that communication, I have no connection with Joann in that. I'm purely working for Yarn Inspirations.
Right.
It just happens that Yarn Inspirations is working with Yarn Inspirations. So it's a Yarn Inspirations Joann collaboration, and then Yarn Inspirations hired me.
Right. They would collab all the time.
Yeah. They're big business partners. Like, and I'm not saying anything that y'all don't know. I mean, that's not because I have insider information. Just walk into a Joann store. Yeah. Look at all the Bernat blanket everywhere. You know what I mean? So for me personally, seeing the demise of Joann hurts, like at that personal level where you feel like a friend is hurting. Yeah. I know that sounds ridiculous. I know they're a company. I get it. But it just hurts at that personal level. Beyond that, I talked about this last week. Because of the Joann closure, there's a hiring freeze at Yarn Inspirations, which made it to where my contract was not renewed. So it all kind of comes full closure. Not just mine, Tamara Kelly from Moogly was not renewed. Right. So we both
not for no ill will.
No ill will at all.
Your Inspirations can't.
No, and I don't blame them. I get it.
When their business is,
you don't have money. I get it. Like, you know, I have no idea if they're going to get paid for everything they have. I have no idea what any of their situation is. But I mean, if you think logically as a business owner, it makes total sense. I totally understand. Yeah. And all of that is, if Yarn Inspirations came back to me and was like, Marley, we want to like work with, absolutely, I would work with them again. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So this is nothing, no ill will, no anything, but just to bring something a little bit home to you as like a closer impact. Maybe you don't know somebody who works at Joann or anything. It affected me in that way. Right. Yeah. But broader than that, Robin, I know there are so many people who only shop at Joann. They only want to go shop at Joann or Michael's or Hobby Lobby, or that's all that's left anymore, to actually like feel and squish the yarn, you know, as far as big box. And they're just like, it's closing, it's going away, it's all they have. Or see the fabric, or get the jewelry, or get the scrapbooking, or get the flowers. I mean, all of these things.
Right. I mean, all of the things you can buy online, without a doubt. Yeah. But there's only so many places that you can go in person and see. It's especially for me, I would go there a lot when I was doing jewelry, because I'd want to, like, yes, I have a lot of jewelry sites that I would use that are amazing, but there is something different of like actually seeing the size of the bead or whatever you're doing makes a huge difference. And for me, the fabric was the same way. Yes, I understand thread count. I understand the feel, but there was something tactile that worked so well. Right. I mean, it's the whole reason that I like local yarn stores.
Right.
So much, because I like to see it. Yeah. Absolutely. I buy probably 90% of my stuff online, but
right. Yeah. And during the pandemic, if you guys remember, Joann stayed open to be able to put together fabric and content together so people can make masks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I bought, that's right. I was like, oh, right. Yeah. I bought all of my stuff from Joann's. That's right.
Yeah, they are integral into a lot of aspects of our lives, more so than just people who are professional crafters. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had to go there to get a poster board, like a trifold board for the kids when they were in school or whatnot. Yeah. But the thing that I've had a lot of people in the Marley's Minions group or people that I've talked to, just lay people, is that the right word? Lay people, just random people who know I'm in the yarn industry, who they're also yarn people. They're like, what do we do? Like, where do we go now?
Mhm.
And of course, there's Michael's and Hobby Lobby. Those are the two that are open right now, right?
Right.
But we all know, again, this is not because I have insider information. It's because I have eyes and I've been to the two stores. They are shrinking their yarn department. Not only that, a lot of their yarn is store yarn. It is not Yarnspirations yarn. It is not Lion brand yarn. It is not Premier yarn. It is their own private label yarn.
Right.
Which, just think about it, guys. If somebody is private labeling a product that you sell for cheaper than what you sell it for, how do you run a business? How do you keep going? I mean, you guys have to think about this logic. I mean, how long can Premier or Lion Brand or Joann or Yarnspiration, how long can they last when all of a sudden Hobby Lobby or Michael's, whoever decides to pop up, only has their own yarn?
Yeah.
Right? At some point, they've grown so big and relied on these outside contracts, rightly so, that shrinking back down, it has to be nearly impossible, to where they're going to shrink down to only be an online. It's not impossible. It's hard.
Yeah. It's really, the ripple effects are really interesting to me, because everybody has a preference. Like, everybody's store, like, you know how it is when you're like, you have a preference, you know what your Michael's looks like, you know what your Joann store looks like. And you have a preference of where you're going. And so you're like, oh, it just gets so much more limited.
Plus each store had their own yarn. Like, I don't know if you guys all know this, but like, when they contract to purchase yarn from different companies, they can negotiate, we only want this yarn at our store.
Right.
Prime example, Karen cakes. You can only get those at Michael's, right? As far as a store, you can only get those at Michael's, because that's a Michael's connection with Yarnspiration, contract with Yarnspirations, that's where they sell, right? So sometimes there's only yarns that you can get at one store and not another, vice versa. Karen, the Michael's store brand is Loops and Thread. You've probably seen it, but it's Loops and Thread.
Yeah, it doesn't say like Michael's on it.
No, it says Loops and Thread.
Yeah.
So, and then we're forgetting about Walmart. You have Walmart, but that's shrinking too. I mean, it's just,
yeah, mine doesn't have any.
It's scary to me, especially, so we didn't talk about this too much ahead of time, but we have talked about before how many new crocheters are coming to this industry, this craft, through amigurumi and through blanket yarn and big plushy type yarn.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are younger individuals who don't have a whole lot of money, so they'll wait for a coupon to go buy the yarn at a store, so they don't have to pay for shipping. And now that's going away for them. So how is that going to affect our craft as far as the expansion of the craft too? Because these young and absolutely inspiring amigurumi crafters like Crochet Grove, like, she's amazing. She and everything Jade. What happens now?
Yeah, you always need the young crafters, because the way that the industry works is you constantly need that new inspiration to keep that craft going.
Yep.
Because we used to be those young pups once upon a time.
Yep.
We're now old farts, but we used to be young, and we were the it thing. But like, you need them. You need all of that vibrancy and that. And my first yarn was bought at a Michael's. Like, if they're now limited, it makes it so much different. Everyone says you can go to your local yarn store. Absolutely. But what if you're in a part of the world that doesn't have one?
Yep. And
because that exists.
I'm going to pop this in here real quick, because is that showing up? My screen's real small, so I don't know if that's showing up.
It's not showing up at all.
Oh, come on. Hold on. I just clicked it. Where did it go? Here it is. There we go. Maybe local yarn stores should start selling Red Heart, Lion Brand, and Premier. Absolutely, but here's going to be the struggle. Okay. I know of very few yarn store owners, local yarn store owners, who will put those brands in their store. There are more snobbish yarn store owners.
Yes, and yes.
More than not. However, I'm going to give this a second. 2 weekends ago, I went to Drew and Borski's yarn shop. Do you know he specifically has Red Heart Lion Brand Premier Yarn in his place because he knows that his customers don't have access to that. And he's definitely not one of those people. He's like, I want to make sure that my community can get what they need. And so absolutely that should happen, Elise.
It should. And sometimes it's with some, I know all the local yarn stores by me, they just don't have the space. Because you think about how much space this takes up. It takes up a lot of space versus a tiny little thing that you get at the yarn store. So it's so much.
Which is crazy because if you guys don't already know this, if you went to Joann's, Michael's, wherever, you'll notice that there are more worsted weight, Aran weight, bulky weight yarns than the lower yarns because you use this faster and it makes you have to go to the back to the store sooner to purchase more yarn. Where the local yarn stores typically, I mean, this is my own conjecture and experience. Local yarn store owners care about the craft and the community and the artistic expression of it all. And yes, there are some that are in it for just the business, but for the most part, they love the expansion of the craft. So they're not going to shy away from.
I don't know how many local yarn stores are like, I'm in it for the money. Like,
right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So whereas
mostly they're in it for their love. It's for the pure love.
Yep. So where you have a chance to get more fingering weight, sport weight, DK weight, very few worsted weight. Hardly any bulky weight at a local yarn store. You go to a big box store and it's reverse of that. And it's by design, guys. It's because you're going to use this faster and come back to the store and purchase more yarn. It's economics. But then speaking of economics with that, Robin, that leads me to think like, so you have the local yarn store who has this other yarn, right? You have other yarn that's at a higher price point. Yeah, that makes they have to buy it at a higher price point, but they can sell it at a higher price point. And then all of a sudden they're bringing in a yarn that's a really low price point. That's going to be hard for people to justify spending yarn at the higher price point when they have a yarn that's the lower price point. I mean, it's psychology when it comes to that. So we're in like a catch-22 when it comes to all of it. It's going to be very interesting how all of this plays out. But where I wanted to go with this is I know everybody wants to go to the store and feel their yarn and see the colors and get the experience. But I wanted to talk about the places that I know I have purchased online or I know of that sells yarn online that I want to mention it to all of you, just in case you've never heard of them before. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to start it off?
I mean, I think the places that we work with are the easiest ones to know.
Yeah.
So it's always We Crochet. That's my number one go-to, and Herrschners. Like those are easy, trusted websites. With Herrschners, because it's that I feel like the big box is always for the crafts. It's always for when I'm making blankets, amigurumi, pillows, home goods. Like it's for the the crafting. I very rarely am gonna buy yarn that I'm making a sweater with at a big box store, but that's just my thing. I go to We Crochet for that when I'm doing wearables.
Right. So I have purchased from yarnspirations.com. If you didn't know that, you could purchase directly from yarnspirations.com.
Right, of course.
I've purchased from lionbrand.com. I have purchased from Herrschners. Like I haven't gotten a whole lot of free yarn from Herrschners, so you guys know. Like I purchased this, so this is I literally paid my own. Like I spent my own money on it, right? I have purchased yarn from Jimmy Bean's Wool, who has a nice selection of different yarns.
Yep.
I don't know if you can purchase yarn from Drew's shop. I don't know if he has that capability, but if you're ever in Michigan and you want to go to is it the Bear and the Fox Yarn Den? Go there. It's fantastic. I know that there is the hobby yarn. I've never purchased from them, so I cannot give my experience from that, but I know there are people who enjoy purchasing from them. Clearly, the sister company to We Crochet is Knit Picks. I've purchased a lot from Knit Picks. And then Webs. Back in the day, I used to buy a lot from Webs, which is just yarn.com.
Yeah, yarn.com.
But out of all of those, if you're looking for where to buy big box yarn, the yarn that it would be obviously directly from the source, Yarn Inspirations, Premier, Lion Brand, but Herrschners, they are a distributor for all of those yarns. They have a bunch of different yarns, and we've already talked about the shipping costs. Well, usually if you get up to a certain amount, it's free shipping. I've been to their warehouse facility. It's amazing. Their whole shipping logistics that they have, it's unreal. Like they have like conveyor belts and stuff where it's crazy. It's so awesome. But they are 100% reliable. They know what they're doing. They've been around for 125 years. They know their stuff, right? So I absolutely would recommend looking at them for your yarn, for big box yarn, because they have it and they're going to be able to get it to you. Not only the Lion Brand Yarn Inspirations, Premier yarns, but their own yarns are really nice. So we talked about private label, but they're nice yarns. I like them a lot. So yeah, Zani Girl, yes, that would be Yarn Inspirations. Spin Right is the parent company of Yarn Inspirations. So yes, they do sell yarn, and premieryarns.com, they sell yarn too. Those are the big ones that I would gravitate towards. I'd be very careful with Amazon. Just gonna throw that out there. You don't know, unless you're buying it directly from like Yarn Inspirations, which I don't even know how you could tell half the time. You don't know where that yarn's coming from. You don't know where they bought it from. You don't know what it smells like. You don't know if it's been through with dogs or cats. You just don't know. And I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm just saying be careful. Same with Etsy, because true story, when I first learned to crochet, that's right when Etsy came out. And I went and purchased so many like yarn lots on Etsy, and I was so excited. And I would get this yarn and it smelled like cigarette smoke, like terrible. I'm like, what do I do? Right. So you have to be careful with Etsy too. You have to be careful on where you're purchasing that stuff from. And then obviously, clearly, if you're not looking for big box yarn, I mean, we have favorite indie dyers that we
so many, and
that we can do a whole nother podcast just on indie dyers that we love. But I wanted to talk mainly about the big box because we're losing Joann's. Which this one hits me harder than Toys R Us. And I love Jeffrey. I'm a Toys R Us kid, right? This is hard.
It's weird to me because, like you think of like the stores that you go to all the time. And that was one of them. And it's funny because when we moved, I was like, ooh, I'm now going to be 5 minutes instead of 20 minutes from a Joann's. And like, that's going to be super helpful for when I need to run out really, really quick to grab something. And like, that's just a weird thing in my brain. Cause
it's not going to be like that anymore.
I'm not a shopper, so I don't go shopping often, but where I would go would be Joann's.
Now, and Joann's was a US company, and all the stores were in the US. They did not do international. So I want to make a point that I'm definitely talking about companies that I know ship to the US. I don't know international information about like Herrschners or Jimmy Bean's Wool or anybody. But I wanted to point those out, especially for US domestic. Because it really is important for us to be aware of where we can spend our dollars and with companies we can trust. I mean, TikTok shop and Instagram, they get me late at night on different things. I'm like, yep, add to cart. I got to get that, right? not so much yarn when it, I mean, no, that's not true. That's I just
That's
fibbed
so true. I was
completely.
like,
I just fibbed
we make
completely.
beads.
Like sock yarn
Totally.
obsessions gets me
Mm-mm.
all the time.
Yeah.
Every time. Every
Mhm.
time. So yes, do not order from Temu, please. Do not,
Mm-mm.
just don't.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Or Temu or Tima, whatever it is.
I know, I call it Temu, but
don't
I
do
don't
it.
know. Yeah.
No. It's just hurting everybody. Yeah. So that's my big takeaway when it comes to Joann. Are there any specific questions anybody has that I mean I could try and answer?
Yeah.
But I mean I don't have a lot of answers. I just have my own opinion and like how it's affecting all of us. I mean it's I think it's going to be more severe than what people think. I'm really interested in how Michaels is going to answer this.
Me too.
Like, will they go into fabric? Will they expand their yarn?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's a huge risk too. Anytime you're going to change your company like that, it's a huge risk. Because I know, like, barring any of the political or religious stuff when it comes to Hobby Lobby, the biggest thing I've seen with them is, yeah, they're shrinking down their yarn department. They're shrinking down their fabric department to expand on their home goods department, which I read then was because they purchased, was it Bed Bath and Beyond? And they purchased, was it Pier 1 or something? I don't know. They purchased some company at their liquidation. So now they're selling all of that stuff. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I heard.
Right.
But all of that is, I mean, so they're obviously
really interesting.
possibly changing their whole, the way they do things inside of the company, the way they, what they decide they're going to sell.
Right.
But I mean, I would think for Michaels to expand into fabric beyond the little bits that they have done all right now, like I'm talking expand into fabric like Joann did.
Right. Like
that would be huge. Because I mean, we're talking about taking away space from things in the store that might already be selling. Because there's only so much shelf space.
Yeah.
You know, something I never thought of until I got into Chic Sheep is every single company is fighting for that shelf space. We want this much space. Here's what we can put in there. Right. So if Michaels is like, hey, we're going to bring in fabric, where are they going to put it? Because either they shrink what they already have in store or they expand the store, which could be even more expensive, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, those are huge decisions. And
you're right. It will be very interesting. It will be very interesting to see. It's like when Borders closed, you know, it was always like Barnes and Noble or Borders. And so it will be interesting to see how that shifted, because like even now when you go into Barnes and Noble, half of it is just games and toys, which blows my mind. Like that wasn't the way it was. And so it will be interesting to see how things shift.
Right. Yeah, it'll be real interesting. And then again, going back to the whole private label, I mean, Walmart has their private label, all of the Walmart private label. You have the private label at Michaels. I mean, everybody on here, they're talking about Dollar Tree yarn. That's provided by Premier, but essentially it's Dollar Tree yarn, right? By the time you add up everything, if you take the yardage and add up what it's the same price, if not a little bit more. And it's not bad yarn. It's not bad yarn at all. Like it's just, it all depends on where you want to get your yarn. But still at the end of the day, we're losing options. You know, everything's shrinking.
It is kind of wild. We had, because like we had AC Moore growing up. That was mine.
Yep. And Mindy, you're absolutely correct. I forgot about Myers. They do sell Bernat. Yep. I forgot about Myers. I don't know. All of it is just, it's mind-boggling.
Very interesting. And it'll be very interesting to see as we go on, like what pops up, what changes. I mean, everything always changes, but it's just an interesting, it's one of those like things that you think will never change. And when it does, you go, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like Red Heart being bought. Like that blew my mind. I was like, Red Heart's been around forever. How could it be bought?
You're mine.
Right.
I was sick in bed with the flu, and Carrie, who was my big contact, like she was just under the VP. She was she texted me. She's like, hey, check your email. And I'm like dead in bed. I am sick.
Yeah.
I'm sick. Tamara's sick. Like we are sick. We had just gotten back home from CHA.
Mhm.
And I checked my email and it says that they were bought. And I was like, well, I can't deal with this right now. And I just hung up the phone, and I didn't like, cause I was like, I just can't. And so I remember not really like letting it fully like flush in
Sink
for like
in.
3 or
Yeah.
4 days. And then, then you always have the big, well, who's going to stay? Who's going to go?
Right.
Cause here I am, the spokesperson for Red Heart, going over to Your Inspirations, who they have Mikey, who's not a spokesperson, but it's Mikey. And I'm like, am I out of a job? Like what happens here? Well, obviously I'm no longer a spokesperson. They don't want that anymore. I'm now, what did they call me? An ambassador. Like it's
very interesting. So
never saw that coming.
I guess what doesn't change is change always happens.
Yes.
There's always change. So it's always a different thing.
Yeah. I just hope that this change does not stifle the progress we've made in the community with bringing in younger individuals into the craft, and I mean, as much as I will bitch and complain about the way they write their amigurumi patterns, which they are just terrible. One day I'll do a reel where I'm like, this is not this. I really will. They're coming in.
We need them.
And they're making
their
joy
and positivity. We need them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
there's
I
a place
just hope
for
that
everybody.
it doesn't stifle at all. I hope it's able to get through. And then those of you who have Joanns around you that are closing, when you're in there, I know that we talked about this in December about how messy the stores are. They're not going to get any better. Mm-hmm. And please go in there with kindness and patience to the people who are still working, because their livelihood is getting closed. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you might get frustrated because they don't have XYZ, or it's a mess, or this or that, but don't be an asshole. I'm just going to throw it out there. Be kind to these people. Be kind to one another. I mean, feel free to commiserate with one another in the yarn aisle, but don't get mad at the people cutting your fabric because they're not going fast enough. Don't get mad that they have one cash out. Yeah, that sucks. But come on, there are bigger crappy things happening in these people's lives. And so I'm going to beg of you to please be kind when you're there to the workers and the individuals, because
it's really hard to work at a company that's going under. Yeah. I've done it many times, and it's really hard to be the last one standing.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that. But then, all sales right now, all sales are final. I know that there are things right now that have started to go on sale. So if there's stuff that you're going to need, like I will be honest, I went and bought pom-poms. I did. And I bought the bag because they had all this knitting. I was like, well, I got to have that. But I did. I went in. I mean, pom-poms. I bought all the pom-poms they had on the shelf.
Yeah.
I did. And I was just like, well, those are mine. To which John was like, do you really need all of those? And I said, yes. Yeah. Yes, I do.
Hello. Do you not know me?
That's what I said.
I'm like really, 30 hats a year.
I know. I did. I went and bought all of the pom-poms, and I was like looking at some things. Buttons. Sandy, buttons is a whole nother subject. I mean, I used to live next to JHB Buttons, and then they sold to another and then it's so hard to find buttons anymore. And I would go to Joann's and buy buttons all the time. You know what? That's a really good point, Sandy. I should go and buy a whole lot of buttons.
Marley's like, oh no.
I am. I'm like, how did I miss the buttons?
Yeah.
I already have a whole lot of buttons because I mean, I like having options, but maybe that's what I should do.
Stocking up on things that you always need. You know, you always need the bent tip needles.
Yep.
Even in your ends, and you always need the scissors. Because those darn things, I never know where they end up. Where are they? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. So those were the big topics we wanted to talk about today with all of you, just because I mean it's a big subject that happened this weekend with the sale with the auction, I guess that's what it would be called. Would it be the sale, the auction? On the website, it says it's the end of an era for the crafting community, which it's absolutely true. It says the collapse of this national retail chain marks the end of what was once a dominant force in the fabric and crafting world. Joann has been a go-to retailer for crafters, quilters, sewing enthusiasts for decades. Its decline underscores the ongoing struggles faced by traditional brick and mortar retailers amid rising competition of online stores and shifting consumer habits, which is 100% true. 100% true. You look at, I mean, this is brick and mortar, but you look at the publishing industry. I mean,
same.
You you don't see as many published books anymore. When it comes to crafting and whatnot, a lot of it is online.
Mainly. Yeah, no. There's very few actual books anymore.
Right. And that's going to go even further as we're entering the AI era of, you know, what content is put out there that is strictly AI, where the person putting it out there literally doesn't know diddly, and they're putting it out and you're relying on it and it's not right, you know, or for us, our patterns, you know, what's to stop somebody from going in and taking our work and setting it to AI? And I mean, I don't know. It's scary. It's a scary world out there right now. But anyways, are we ready for a lunch and learn? That wraps up my conclusion of Joann. That's all I really want to say about that. You know, the reasons for it, I don't know. I have no idea. You know, I have assumptions just like anybody else, but I mean, I just feel for all the people involved, from the checkout person to the higher up at the Joann making decisions.
Yeah.
It's got to be super hard to be going through all of it. And not only Joann, but the companies who sold to Joann who might not be getting paid.
Yeah.
I mean,
because it's funny when you think about all that stuff. It's like, it's definitely a dream job to work at Joann's or Red Heart or Lion Brand or all of those places that you're like, oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's super, super difficult. Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna go like this. Nope. Like this. Nope. Like this. Nope. Like this. Nope. Like this? Yes. This is what we want.
Nope. Nope. Not that one.
Nope.
I
nope.
clicked on the buttons.
I wish I could see them labeled, but it's just images. Like it's just like little, I mean, you know what it looks like. I'm like, I don't know what it is. And then we're going to come over here. I have this Stream Deck. Do you guys can you see this thing? It has all these buttons on it. And so one of them one says face, one says picture in picture, one says hands, one says screen share, one says main screen, one says picture in picture and camera B. Which one do you think we want?
I'm hoping you want hands.
Okay, I think I want this one.
Which one was that?
Okay. That one is main screen. This one is screen share. This is picture in picture and camera B. Camera B is hands. So that's what we want. Okay. Woo! So you're not going to see my face. I took my face out of it because I didn't figure you would need it. But what we're going to do, what you see on your screen is a condensed down little swatch chart. And I actually did go ahead and add this little
Marley,
swatch
why
chart.
don't you take me out too? So then everything is really big for everybody.
Oh, okay. Well, now let's go find what button that was. That one. Yay! It was a charm. I love it. Okay, so for this shawl, I decided that it would be really nice to see this chart here that you guys are seeing right here. This is a very condensed down version of the larger chart, which is included only in the ad-free PDF. But I did put this little tiny chart in there so you guys could do a swatch with it, okay? This should come out to be just about like over 7 inches. And so if you're worried about gauge, Robin, should they be worried about gauge with this?
I don't see why you would care.
No.
I mean, it's like, it's a triangle.
Yeah.
If it's smaller, we'll call it a bandana. If it gets really, really big, call it a big shawl.
I agree with you. Like, and I mean, if your stitches are bigger, you know, you're going to have to worry about maybe needing more yarn. I mean, you're going to be fine. Like, I feel like you're going to be fine. I did not, like, I pulled out more than this. I pulled out a good chunk of yarn that I set aside before I made the shawl. So that way I knew I wasn't using like every last bit of the yarn, so that there was wiggle room there for people. Anyways, so I have that little swatch chart there that we're going to use. But essentially, to make this pattern, we start down here at the tippity bit of the corner. And we're going to turn back and forth, working in garter stitch. And then right here, we're going to do a knit front and back. Okay, we're going to do knit front and back and increase like so. And then in the big thing, you'll just keep going until you get up to this particular row. And then you transition to the diamond brocade, which is what you see up here on the chart. So you transition to the diamond brocade, and then you finish with garter stitch. So I'm going to get you guys started here with this little bit down here. And we start off by casting on 2 stitches. Now, the size needles that I used for my project, I used size 10, and these are 24-inch circulars. And I used the circulars to accommodate the number of stitches that we ultimately get to when we're up at the bind off edge. These were plenty big enough. I didn't have to worry about them.
Is a big thing to note, right?
Yes.
That seems super reasonable and super easy, but it also doesn't look like it's long enough to accommodate an entire shawl.
Yep. I wanted to try and make it. I mean, clearly, if you have interchangeable needles, like if you have the ChowGoo these are some of my favorite needles. You could always transition to a longer cord if you needed to, but I wanted to make the entire shawl on one set of needles to show you that you could. Okay. So I just used these needles, and then you can have stitch markers if you want to use stitch markers. I really don't think you need them on the garter stitch part, with the exception of one removable marker. And I'm going to show you why. Now, let me make sure I am in focus here as I pull up my hand. Is that good? I think that's good. So we're going to start off. And side note, the worsted heathers, I think, is that Mary said it's the only yarn that doesn't have that center tab pull, which I didn't even know. I was like, oh, okay, it doesn't bother me, whatever. Like, I just pulled out the guts. It's no big deal. Okay, I am doing a long tail cast on. So I'm going to start off with a slip knot on my needle, and I'm going to cast on 2 stitches. So I don't need a super long tail, okay? I don't need a super long tail. Let me pull up the written instructions just to make sure I'm saying everything correct.
Which is really nice, because I think a super long tail is what can get a lot of beginning knitters, because you always like want to grab it by accident.
Right, right. All right, so I cast on 2, and immediately I go into my knit front and back. So for me, this is going to be a wrong side. So when I turn here, this is my row 1. I will knit in the front of this stitch. I'm sorry, I am.
You're in the box.
I am. Okay, I'm just making sure.
You.
Okay. It's hard to see sometimes with all of this. It's too much going on. Okay. So you're going to knit in the front of that first stitch. If you kind of extend your needle out a little bit and swivel around, and then go into the back leg of that same stitch. If I can get into it. Back leg of that same stitch. Can you see I'm in the back leg? And then knit. So you yarn over your needle and pull that through that back leg. Now I have 2 stitches on my right hand needle, and so I can let the stitch that I went into actually jump off my left. Okay. Now I'm just going to knit the next 2 stitches. So knit 1, knit 2. Okay. Here is where my stitch marker comes in. I want to make sure that I know that this is my increase side. And at the very beginning of your shawl, it can get very confusing which side is your increase side. So after I complete the next increase, I am going to actually stick this needle right through my edge over here. So that way I know whenever I turn my work and I'm looking at this on this edge, that that's my increase edge. Because that's all I have to remember for the first part of this shawl, right? So that's row 1, turn my work. Cast on 2. Did I cast on 3?
It appeared like you had 3 stitches on.
Jeez Louise. Did I literally just mess up a cast on 2? Seriously? Cast on 2. Where were you, tech editor? Where were you? Cast on 2 stitches. Rewind, everybody.
I don't know.
Let's
You
do
just
that.
started 3? Oh,
I'm
wow.
an idiot. So I go into the front. Yarno. Jeez Louise. I wish what? Really? That's how we're gonna play this, huh? You're just gonna let me mess up live. 150 people. Who cares? She can't even count to 2. That's where we are. All right. So knit in the back, and then knit 1. Da-da-da. So now I have 3 stitches. Turn my work. Same thing applies when it comes to the marker. Now I'm just going to knit these. So anytime I'm on the wrong side, I just knit. Okay? I just knit. Turn my work.
So the right side is the only time that you're increasing.
Right side is the only time I'm going to actually increase. So I'm back to my right side, which if I wasn't keeping track, I wouldn't really know where I am. I mean, it just looks like a little nubbin of nothing.
Yeah,
right?
Like you have to drop that down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what.
So I'm just like, okay, so I will go ahead, work my increase over here. Knit 1, knit 2. It's still not really that much fabric yet. So I'm going to just remember, we all know how good I'm good at that. Turn my work. I'm going to knit 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn my work. And so I'm back over here and I know I'm on a knit front and back. So I'm going to go ahead and do my knit front and back. Knit 1, knit 2, knit 3. So now I have 5 stitches. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, Marley, you have more than enough there to just put a marker here to indicate you're on the right side. Absolutely, I do. And I could do that, right? But we all just saw that I'm not very good at remembering things, right? So I need all the tools possible to make things as easy as possible for me to remember. So when I use my marker, I actually want my marker on that right edge, okay? So I want my marker over here to literally be, hey, dum-dum, whenever your needle is over here and you're seeing that you're going to work a knit front and back, okay? And as I continue going, I will move that up just so that it's not so far out of the way. But now I can put my work down, put it into my project bag, come back to it after a week or so, and I don't have to wonder, oh, which is the right side, which is the wrong side, because I have my marker in place, right? And I'm just working garter stitch, and I'm just doing knit front and back every time I'm on the right side, okay? That's how easy this is. Now, when you go to look at the free pattern or you look at the ad-free PDF, you're going to see that I literally have all of the rows written out. Anybody want to take a guess why I did that? Come on. Just me messing up should give you a clue on why I did that. Should give you a clue.
I was going to say something because it is a pain in the butt to format.
Yes.
Every single one. But I only assumed it was so people could keep track. They can cross off which row
exactly. Ding, ding, ding. Gold star for Robin.
Yay!
So, on the pattern, every single row is written out for this shawl based on what I did. Okay. And it's completely charted out that way too. So if you buy the ad-free PDF, you get the stitch fiddle link to the chart that you could use the progress tracker every single row. But because I lose track all the time and I want to know how many stitches I'm supposed to have, what side am I on, all those things. I like when everything is written out and I could just put a check mark on my pattern. So every single row is written out for this pattern. All of that is to say it is just a 2-row pattern, right? On your wrong side, you just knit on the wrong side. On the right side, you'll do an increase and just knit across. But if you're like me and you want to keep track of every single row, you could tick them off. If you're not like me, you could always look to where you have to get to what number of stitches before you get to your brocade, diamond brocade, and just work to that. It's totally up to you. But for me, I like having something that I can tick off. And I know that there are people who really like the mechanical row counters and stuff. I've talked about this before, but when I was a young mom knitting and crocheting, my kids would get a hold of my row counters and then they would click them because they liked the clicky sound.
Who doesn't like that clicky sound?
Oh, Caden was all about that clicky sound. And so I would pick up my work and it would say I'd be like on row 50. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have 50 rows. But if I kept a little tally sheet, like a little tick mark, like I could tell what were my tick marks and what were somebody else's scribble. Yep. So I am a big fan of having my little tick marks. Like it's just in the active process of having a pen and paper doing that is really nice. However, I am also a huge fan of Stitch Fiddle and using their progress tracker. As a matter of fact, I made this entire shawl using that. So that way I knew exactly where I was when I got to the diamond brocade part. I didn't use it for this garter stitch section because I knew what I needed. But when I got to the diamond brocade part, because you're doing something different every single row, and I wanted to make sure I didn't get off because it really easily you can get off track up there. I used the progress tracker to know exactly where I was, and it made sure that I didn't have to do any tinking at all. No tinking whatsoever.
It is funny with very, very, very simple patterns how they can sometimes screw you up.
Oh yeah.
Just because you can't count or because I can't count. It is clear. I can count the same row 6 times and come up with 6 different answers.
Absolutely. So having said that, Robin, can you give me a hand here and tell me how many stitches I need on my little swatch before I go to the diamond brocade on that little chart? Because I'm just, if you guys can tell, I'm just kind of like breezing through now, trying to get to the part where I have enough stitches to work that little chart with you. Maybe I should have made it smaller. I didn't think that would take very long. So I was just like, oh, this is good.
Now you're asking me to count.
I know. I gave you the Stitch Fiddle link. So if you wanted to go and use that to like highlight that row to see how many stitches are there.
I think it's 21, but hold on.
Okay.
That's some dangerous stuff.
Hey, that's all right. This is payback for you not telling me I had 3 stitches instead of 2.
You did not give me the link, but that's okay.
I didn't? I thought I did.
You didn't. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I got it. I have other sneaky ways of looking up.
I'm trying really hard to make sure I don't forget to do an increase because that's always a pain in the rear. I don't have a good way to drop down and fix a forgotten increase. I just tink, just so you guys know. Like I don't have a big secret. I find that just tinking back is just easier that way. Julia says she counts 19.
I count 19.
All right. I'm going to count my stitches here after this. You guys are fantastic. Look at all these little mathematicians out here. Where were you, Julia, when I had 3 stitches? Did I increase down there? I'm questioning myself. I did.
Yeah, you're 19. Hey, why did you choose knit in front and back? There's a million different choices you could have made. Is there like some magic?
I just thought, so when knit front and back leaves you with that little purl bump right there. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I liked the little purl bump because if I get lost and I'm like, hey, and I was just going to point this out because I just did it. When I was like, oh, did I do an increase over there? I come back and I look for that purl bump. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I had just turned and I was like, oh, did I do the increase? And I come back. Whereas if I had done an invisible increase, it's much harder to find it. So for me, everything's about ease for me, y'all. I'm like, oh, there's my purl bump. I did a knit front and back. I'm good. And that little purl bump, it kind of gets hidden in and it looks like this little detailed feature on that increase side. And I liked it with the garter stitch. But really it's so that way I could double check myself. Not going to lie. That's if you wanted to use a different increase, you could. But that's my honest answer. And then here I'm talking to you and I still didn't count. I was going to count and I forgot. All right, hold on. Let me do this again. So here is 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I only have 13. Oh, I got to keep going. I'm going fast, y'all. Let's talk amongst yourselves. Anybody else watch the Saturday Night Live 50? Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard. It was fantastic. Some of those comedians are just so funny.
Well, yeah. And I always giggle, and every time they break, it just cracks me up.
Oh yeah.
It makes me giggle even harder.
The one scene with Woody Harrelson and Pedro Pascal and Meryl Streep. Oh my gosh. I had to go to the bathroom afterwards. Like I was laughing so hard when what is her name? Kate McKinnon. Like she goes underneath Woody Harrelson. She's like, you put it on like a hat. I was dying. I was just like, oh my gosh. And then you're a knitter when that whole thing is going on. All I was thinking of, how do I make Woody's hat? Like he had this really nice knit purple like hat on. And I was like, ooh, I could make that. See right there again. I did an increase. Okay. See, I start to question myself, y'all. And I'm like, did I do it? I did it. Almost done here.
Yeah. It just makes me giggle. It just makes me giggle so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really funny stuff. Really funny stuff. I don't know. And then, let's talk about, as we're just knitting here, as I'm just trying to get up to 19, we'll just chit chat a little bit. I actually watched the P. Diddy documentary thing. But is it even a documentary if it's like, I don't know, whatever it is? That was eye-opening for sure.
What is that on?
I think it was on Netflix.
Okay.
And I think 50 Cent paid to put it all together. It's here's the deal. I'm totally okay, for, different strokes for different folks, right? But when you're dealing with people who are non-consenting, or you're dealing with men who beat up women, I'm totally against that. Like I could care less about deviant sex acts. That's their life. That's their business. But if it's not consensual, that's where the problem lands.
Yeah,
clearly.
Absolutely. Everybody has to consent.
Right. I had somebody tell me, they're like, oh, you're such a prude. I'm like, no. You clearly don't know me. Have we met? I'm like, I am definitely not a prude, but there's that line of it has to be consensual. But then the bigger thing for me with him, I shouldn't say the bigger thing, because obviously consensuality he's huge, but the beating up of the girlfriends and the possible like killing of one of his girlfriends, and it's just terrible. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
But you got teenagers, I got teenagers. It's all you talk about is making sure everybody knows.
Yep.
Everybody's okay with what's happening.
Oh yeah, I totally talked about that with all my kids. Here's something else. Have you noticed that there's all these reports of people impersonating policemen or utility workers or various things, so that you open your door and they get into the house and they will rob you or do worse?
Yeah.
So speaking of talking to your kids, like I had this big discussion with Alora. I'm like, I don't care who's at the door. I don't care what they're holding. You do not open that door. Like, do not open that door. And if it's the cops, you call the police state, you call 911 and get confirmation that they are valid. I'm like, you do not make an assumption that whoever's at the door is okay. Like, it's so scary. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Yeah, I worry more about that with like my parents and my in-laws.
17. Yep, I told that to my mom and dad too.
Yeah.
All right, so this is 18. One more after, so I guess that would be 3 more rows. Sorry guys, I'm hurrying. I actually didn't think this would take this long. I was like, I'm a fast knitter. I got this, which I probably am. Like, I'm probably like cruising right along, but when we're just hanging out here together. So anyways, I watched that, and then I watched the Gabby Petitito. Is that how you the young lady? I watched some just documentary stuff. I watched the young lady who was killed by her boyfriend allegedly in Utah. I mean, she was killed, but allegedly it was the boyfriend. I don't think he was actually, because he killed himself, so he was convicted or wasn't convicted. But that was just, I mean, that's
You're
sad.
watching a lot of stuff that gives me.
I know.
I'm just like,
it's like I sat down, John was watching it and it hooked me in because you know me, I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
And so I was like, huh, what are you watching? All right.
Yeah, because like I can do, you know, murder mysteries when they're not real.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
I usually can't do any of that stuff. All right. So I gotta make sure. Oh, that messed up, didn't it? Okay, hold on. So is it 19? And then the next one is the increase?
Then it would be the increase, yeah. So it was just like 19.
So finish the 19. So I just increased to 19.
So now you got to go back and forth.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
finish
what I
it
wanted to
and
confirm.
then go back. Yeah.
I can't move my chart over to my other screen because you just saw it kind of messed it up. So I have to keep it on the second screen. Jennifer Barnes, can these be made in shorter versions? You mean the shawls? It's pretty short, but yeah, you could.
Absolutely.
I don't know about the cowl, but can they make it for the cowl?
100%. The cowl, the crochet cowl, I forget if it's a 6 or 8 row repeat. I don't remember. But yeah, you can stop after any repeat you want, and then you just get a shorter triangle, and make a bandana out of it instead. Instead of a cowl. But this is the same way with the knit shawl. You could just make a shorter triangle and then add the brocade at the end. The brocade is a multiple of 6. Is that right, Marley?
Yeah, it's 6, and then it's, I mean, to make things work out, I had add 1, but yeah, it's 6. Like,
so 6 plus 1 is what they need.
You would need 1 more. What?
Yeah. So the multiple is 6 plus 1. So they could stop anywhere at a 6 after 6 plus 1.
Yeah. But in the pattern, I only wrote it for 6 because I wanted them to know what is the 6, because that's the repeat that keeps going.
Right.
I wanted them to make sure they knew that.
In your knit shawl, if you didn't want to go all the way to, I forget what it is, 119 stitches or
something.
I don't remember what it is. Yeah. Whatever that number is, you could stop anywhere after 6 plus 1. So that's like 19, 25, 37. So it's 6 times something plus 1 more stitch.
Right. All right, give me a second. I'm opening up Stitch Fiddle to help me out with this next part because it's easier. All right. So essentially I'm on row 38 here, and no. Row 38. Is that right? I should be on a right side row. I think I need, oh, that's what's going on. Hold on.
Yeah, it says row 38.
Okay, hold on.
No.
Nope. I have to erase those 2. Hold on. Delete. And then, hold on. Let me just fix this real quick. I'll fix the chart in the direction changed on my, there it is. Let me hit apply. Okay. And then give me a second. we're going to change to my face. And then I'm going to share. Just give me a second here. Share a different screen. That is not what I want. Okay. And then let's see. Transition. Are you seeing Stitch Fiddle?
I see Stitch Fiddle.
Okay. So what I just did is I went in and I removed the last 2 rows so that it showed just like a cast on of 2.
Yeah.
Actually, I should probably, anyways, I'll change that to where it says cast on 2. So it shows row 2 is a right side row. So now I'm up here. I am actually on up here. Right here on row 36. This is the row I'm on, and it's a right side. I'll put this into the pattern, but you guys can see where I am. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do a knit front and back. So knit front and back, and then I jump into my pattern. So it will be knit 2, and then I have a bracket. So the bracket indicates that everything inside the bracket, I'm going to do the number of times outside of the bracket. Are my hands visible?
Your hands are visible.
Okay.
Yes.
So in the bracket, you'll notice it's 6 stitches. So it's purl 1 and then knit 5. 3, 4, 5. If I wanted, and I put this in the pattern, if I wanted to put a marker there to where it was after every time I finished a bracket, I could do that just to help you keep track of where you are. So then I could do purl 1, knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could take another marker and I could put it there. So now I have done 2 of my pieces inside the frap or inside the brackets. Purl 1, knit 3. 1, 2, 3. I should have 20 stitches here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Perfect, right? So I can turn my work. If you have the PDF, you could, this is the progress tracker I was telling you about. So I just hit the arrow and it moved it up. So now coming back, whatever the pattern is going to say, just so you know, this pattern where I'm at over here is not the way this is like. So all that is to say, you can't take this chart and be like, nah, I'm just going to use this. It doesn't have the same because I didn't want you to cheat me, so to speak. But let's take what it says in the pattern because it's just for a swatch. But I would purl 2, knit 1, purl 1. Here's the problem. So you have this marker here, but it's not going to coincide with the brackets the way they're on here, right? So I have knit 1, purl 1. So I can remove the marker or move it, whatever I want to do. Knit 1, purl 3. 1, 2, and 3. So that was once. So I do it again. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 3. 1, 2, and 3. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 2. My stitch count did not change because my increase is only on the right side, right? So I click my arrow to go up on my progress tracker. I work my knit front and back. Now I'm going to do a knit 1, purl 1, knit 3, purl 1. And I do this 3 times. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 3, purl 1. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, knit 2, knit 3, purl 1, and I'm left with a knit 1. Okay. The cool thing about this is honestly, when the pattern's written where it says do this X number of times, you could always kind of look ahead and say, oh, how many am I doing this until the last how many stitches? And then you just repeat it down to the however many stitches it is. But I don't know if you can start to tell, you're starting to get a little bit of some
design.
Yeah, stitch definition and stuff here. So turn the work. Knit
I
1.
still think it's hard to see. So
purl 5.
using your stitch markers is definitely a good thing to do. I would say definitely use your stitch markers for the first like 5 rows. It's going to be a while till you can like see it. Till you can see where the purl stitches are.
Yeah. And even if you have to move the stitch markers like every row or whatever just to keep you track for that row, you could do that. There's so many options you can do. Hold on. if you get stuck, like, so right now I know I'm on a knit 1 purl 5, so I'm looking for my knit 1, and I purled 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's my purl 5, and then I'm going to finish with the knit 3. Oops. Turn my work. You start to see here. Is it showing up very well? Let me see over here.
Yeah.
So, like here, you're starting to get, like, this is like essentially half the diamond is starting to show up there. And so on the bigger one, this is what it looks like on the wrong side. You kind of get this like relief diamond effect. Can you see that? And then on the right side, it's just very subtle little diamonds. Like if you had this in a solid color, it would be even more of a pop, but it's just this little bit of extra difference. And then you just finish off with 4 rows of garter stitch and then bind off knitwise. And that's the shawl. Like it's that easy, you guys. It's so simple. It's so super duper simple. All right, I'm coming back to us. And here I am.
Not you, just me.
Not me. Apparently I can't figure it out. Here I am. What's really funny is I want the circles. I don't know. Ha-ha! There we are. I'm like, where are the circles? Anyways, hopefully all of that showed you guys just how easy this shawl pattern really is. I will go in and I will change up this chart so that way you guys can have all the numbers work coincide. Again, the sample swatch chart, you cannot take the sample swatch chart and turn it into the full shawl because I have different stitches on the end, so it's not the same. But
it's not the same.
Hopefully you like this.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they like it? I can't tell.
I think it's great. I think it's great. It's a fun, easy thing to work on.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. Were there any other questions here that Kaden is here. Hello, Kaden Bird. Hello, Kaden Bird. LOL. Mr. Kaden Bird. He's so funny. Mindy says, Marley, can you recommend some worsted yarn for socks for your first sock pattern? I'm making in acrylic ASA as practice, but no, it's not ideal. That's fine. As practice in acrylic, that's totally fine. If you're looking for a worsted weight that's like a wool worsted weight, I mean, knowing, just like when I did the practice socks, or not the my first socks, we did it with Chic Sheep, knowing that there was no nylon in them. You could use Swish worsted. Yeah. I like Swish worsted. But yeah, you can do just about anything. Like they're practice. Do whatever you want, whatever helps get you.
Just to understand the construction. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's usually the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. All right, so here's another question from Julia. Marley and Robin, back at the beginning, someone asked about left-handed videos for the sock course. I could do that. I could flip your videos. I mean, you don't want to do it for knitting. Usually it's crochet.
It's the crochet.
It's the crochet.
We're always the problem child. Let's be honest.
Is that something like, I mean, I guess is that something people want? I mean, we could add left-handed. It's not that hard. It's just a flip of the camera.
It's a flip of the camera.
Yeah. So we could do that. Yeah, we could do that. Not a problem.
In what we're in crochet, what we're doing is turned rows. So you're not turned rows, turned rounds.
Yeah.
So you know, you're not just doing a spiral going this way. You're going one way and then back and then back and then back.
Yeah.
I know for my mom, going in the round is a lot easier. She's my left-handed crocheter. It's whenever you're doing rows, which is really what messes her up.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's not a problem. All right. So I hope you guys will go grab these patterns and make them. I'm curious if anybody would like a video for this one. Is this beginner friendly?
No.
I
am not nice.
Guys, did you see her face? No. I mean, are those puff stitches?
Yeah. So here's the reason it's not beginner friendly is because it's a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
That you're increasing on the ends and in the center.
Mm-hmm.
So right there, you have already made beginners angry. Like it is not happy.
Yeah.
Now when it comes, yes, they're puff stitches because I wanted the squishy, but I do have in the pattern that you could use clusters, double crochet 3 togethers. It would be fine, which would then bring down the level, like because puffs are much harder than clusters. Because all the puffs, you got all those loops, and it's harder for a beginner.
Okay. All right.
But with everything,
Very
I
pretty.
feel like if you like it, then it's a beginner. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't learn how to do anything on a beginner pattern. I just went with what made me happy.
Me too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like you don't know what you don't know. You just kind of jump in and go with it.
Yeah.
And
It is definitely not a hard pattern. There's nothing hard about it.
No.
It's just for beginners. I don't like anything that has so much, like a special stitch and increases. Like I like having like only one of those things. I don't like having multiple of those things.
Cool.
So
Awesome.
we're talking an advanced beginner. You know, that's awesome. What kind of pattern it is. Sure. If you want to do a video for it, go.
Yeah, I just want to know if people wanted that too. Like that would be great. It looks like people would like to know, but do remember next Wednesday, we do have a lunch and learn specific to a shawl, a crochet shawl. So we will be doing that for Herrschners using their yarn. That's all I can think about. Good luck, everybody. Go. It sounds bad. Go partake in all the deals of the yarn. Remember to be kind to everybody there. Please be kind. And then Friday, be on the lookout for the make along. If you're wanting to join us for the sock make along, we would love to have you join us for that. And just kind of a heads up beyond that, Tournament of Stitches will be right behind that. So that's coming up. And that one is also a free and a paid thing. So we will have that stuff going on. But hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast, and we'll see you again real soon. Thanks, Robin.
Bye.
Bye.
Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away.